What if I told you the house you build for others is actually the house you will one day live in? This is the forgotten story of an old carpenter who thought he was building his last house for someone else, until he learned the shocking truth that changed his life forever. Introduction. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village tucked between rolling hills and whispering pines, lived an old carpenter named Thomas. For over 40 years, Thomas had built houses for the people of this village. Every home that stood firm against storms and time bore the mark of his skillful hands. But now, Thomas was tired. His back ached. His hands, once steady as the morning sun, trembled with age. He decided that it was time to retire. He went to his employer, Mr. Warren, a wealthy builder who owned most of the village houses, and said softly, "Sir, I've come to tell you, I wish to retire. I want to spend my final days in peace by the lake with my grandchildren." Mr. Warren looked at Thomas kindly. "You've served me well, old friend, but I have one last favor to ask," he said. "Please build me one more house, just one last house before you go." Thomas sighed. He wanted to refuse, but he owed Mr. Warren much. "All right," he agreed, "one last house, but this is truly the last." The last house begins, but something strange happened as Thomas started this final project. His heart wasn't in it. "This is my last house," he muttered. "What does it matter if the beam is crooked, or if the foundation isn't deep enough? I will never live here. I will never see who moves in." For the first time in his life, Thomas cut corners. He used cheap materials. Nails bent and were hammered straight again. The wood was old and slightly warped. The tiles for the roof weren't properly sealed. Good enough, he thought. Neighbors noticed. "Is this really Thomas's work?" They whispered. "It seems rushed. He was always the best. What happened?" But Thomas didn't care. He wanted to finish and rest. A month passed. The house was done. He went to Mr. Warren and gave him the keys. "It's finished, sir. My last house. May I now enjoy my retirement?" Mr. Warren smiled. "Thank you, Thomas. You have served me loyally for 4 decades. I have a gift for you." Thomas raised his brows. "A gift?" Mr. Warren pressed the keys back into Thomas's hand. "These are yours," he said softly. "This house, your last house, is my gift to you for your years of faithful service. Enjoy your retirement here, Thomas. You deserve it." The awakening, Thomas froze. His breath caught in his throat. His heart sank. The house, this house, his own house, the house he built without care, without heart, without pride. The house with weak beams, cheap stone, and poor workmanship. Suddenly, shame washed over him like a cold rain. He realized he had cheated no one but himself. Had he known he was building his own home, how differently he would have worked. Every beam would be strong, every stone carefully placed, every tile sealed against the wind. But now, this was the house he would live in, the house that reflected the end of his life's work. Tears filled his eyes. "What have I done?" he whispered. Mr. Warren, sensing his distress, placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Thomas," he said, "I hope this house would remind you that your work was not just labor for others, but a labor of your own soul. Every house you built, you were building for yourself in a way, for your name, your pride, your legacy." Thomas wept openly. "I have built homes for others with pride, but when it came to my own house, I gave less, and now I will live in the house my carelessness built." Mr. Warren smiled kindly. "But the lesson is not over. A house can be rebuilt, walls can be mended, roofs can be repaired. The important thing is that your heart has learned something priceless today." Thomas straightened his old back. His eyes, though wet with regret, burned with new purpose. "You're right," he said. "I will not leave this house as it is. I will tear down the weak walls. I will rebuild. I will make this my finest house, even if it takes the rest of my days." The redemption. And so Thomas began again. Day after day, he worked harder than ever. Not for money, Not for Mr. Warren, not for the village praise, but for himself. He bought the finest wood. He laid the deepest foundation. He carved every beam with his name. He sealed every tile with care. Neighbors came by and watched in wonder. "Isn't this the same house Thomas rushed to finish?" they asked. "He is rebuilding it, better than before." Children laughed as they saw him climb the roof like a young man. Villagers cheered as the walls stood firm and beautiful. Months passed. The house transformed. It became the most beautiful house Thomas had ever built. Strong, warm, full of life. When he finally finished, he stood before it proudly. "I gave my best again," he whispered. "And this time, it was for me." But more than that, his heart had changed. He realized that every act of work, every small deed in life, is a brick in the house we ourselves must live in. When we cheat, when we slack, when we give less than our best, we are not fooling others. We are fooling ourselves. And when we give our best, even when no one is watching, we build a life strong and beautiful. The legacy. Years passed. Thomas lived in that house, proud and peaceful. And when travelers came to the village, they always stopped to admire the old carpenter's home. "Who built this wonderful house?" they asked. Thomas would smile gently and say, "I did," twice. And they would laugh, not knowing the story behind his words. But the village knew. Fathers told their sons. Mothers told their daughters. "Whatever you do," they would say, "do it with all your heart, for you are building your own house even when you think it's for someone else." And so, long after Thomas was gone, his lesson remained. A silent, shining truth passed from generation to generation. We build our lives with every small action. And one day, we must live in the house we ourselves have built. Conclusion: this was the story of Thomas, the carpenter who built his last house, and learned the lesson that changed his life forever. May his story remind us all, whatever you do, do it with all your heart, for one day, you will walk the halls of your own creation.